Welcome, everyone, to the Flower Files podcast sponsored by Wildly Native Flower Farm. Here, everyone is welcome to talk with fellow flower lovers, including real perspectives from the farm, the flowers, and me, the florist.
From the messy day-to-day operations down to the details and even business perspectives, this podcast has a little bit of everything to keep it real. We know that life can get crazy and we don't always have the time to spend on what we love, so we are here to help you take a little time to indulge in nature. I'm Liza Getz.
I'm Lizzie Frey, and we are the team that makes this podcast. Every once in a while, we have a couple guests, this business thing, and what we are working with is called life.
Join us as we walk you through how to think outside the box, talk from the farmer's perspective, have honest conversations about florals, and how to run, well, life. So listen in.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, in the podcast section, and any of your other podcast platforms. You can also find us online at wildlynativeflowerfarm.com, and in an easy way, you can look in the show notes, and all of the information will be right there for easy access.
So guys, welcome back to the Flower Files, brought to you by Wildly Native Flower Farm. I'm Liza, for those of you who don't know me, and today we're here to talk about soil amendments and unlock that tricky word. I feel like this time of year, when everybody starts getting ready for their gardens, they start to worry about how to take care of their soil. So before anyone mentally checks out thinking this is going to sound like a college soil class with lots of chemistry and really confusing terms, I promise you, it is not built to be like that. This is literally the muddy boots and the hoodie sweatshirt style of the real life version of understanding your soil, which is the foundation of any garden, whether you're growing flowers, vegetables, or just a garden because it's beautiful. Because if you've ever stood in your garden holding a bag of something that you know sounded really important to have, like maybe bone meal, blood meal, worm castings, compost, lime, any of the flower tones, plant tones, and thought, I don't actually know what I'm doing, but it feels like I should be using it because I know I have to fix my soil. This episode is built for you because you're not alone. When you first start gardening, you just want a great garden. But today, we're going to break down those soil amendments in a way that actually makes sense. Because let's be honest, it's confusing. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they are and what they are not, and why throwing random products at your soil in your garden doesn't really work. We're going to talk about how they work together and how they're interrelated. And we're going to also talk about how amendments fit into that bigger soil picture, especially if you're growing cut flowers, because you may be a little biased about cut flowers. And then in the next episode, spoiler alert, we have a whole episode with one of our local heroes. We're going to take this one step further and talk with Ryan from Shore Soils, and he's going to talk to us all about compost. Because I feel like there's compost experts and there's compost confusion. Because compost deserves its own episode. And honestly, some of you out there, it probably deserves its own fan club. So, I want to talk a little bit about this and just say this right up front. At Wildly Native, we work really hard to do things as perfectly as possible, but we didn't always get soil right out of the gate. In the early years, we absolutely did the thing where someone recommended something and we tried it. Mushroom soil. We applied it, we used it, I used it extensively, but I didn't realize how much that alkalinity was going to really make a difference. And we kind of hoped for the best. And then I stood there wondering, why the plants were struggling just a little bit. They still grew and things were fine, but they didn't look like I had anticipated. And I want to share with you what we've learned, sometimes the hard way, is that soil is more of a relationship. So many times you see a crop field and they're doing all of these things out in the field, and amendments are not magic spells. They are support tools, and they're super helpful ones, but they only work when you use them intentionally. They all have to make sense and they all have to work together. So let's break down what soil amendments actually are. I want to define it super simply. Okay, you ready? A soil amendment is anything you add to your soil to improvement. Anything you do to improve the soil is an amendment. That could mean improving the actual structure, improving drainage, or improving nutrient availability. So any of those work together. You can even work on improving your biological activity. Yes, we're talking worms and all of those subsurface creatures that make your soil work better. That's it. That's all it is. Amendments are helpers. They're not replacements for healthy soil. And this is important because amendments do not fix your soil overnight. If someone tells you, oh, we have an easy solution and this one product is going to solve everything, that's not actually how soil works. Soil takes time. It takes patience. It takes understanding. It takes an interrelationship. So let's clarify one of the confusions, because some people confuse amendments with fertilizer. And I think this is where some of the confusion starts. Fertilizers feed the plant directly. It's super fast, but it's also short term. So if you're exercising, think of it like a protein shake. Soil amendments feed the soil system. They support the microbes. They improve the structure. They help nutrients move through the system when the plants are ready for them. They are different from fertilizer. So if you think about it, if fertilizer is a quick boost, amendments are like sleep, good hydration, and real good food. They both have a place and they both work together, but they do different jobs. So why does most soil need help? Most garden soil has been worked many times over. It may be a little compacted from somebody stepping on it or a path, or it could just be stripped of its organic matter if you're raking things out and you're not putting stuff back in. In our region here in Maryland, we deal with a fair amount of clay, some poor drainage because of it, and super tight soils. But here's the key idea. Your soil can have nutrients, but the plants may still not be able to get them delivered to them because of the way the soil inherently is. And that's called nutrient availability. Kind of makes sense. How available are those nutrients for the plants? And that's where amendments come in. So if you're thinking about an amendment, it's actually making it easier for the plant to function. So if soil could talk, it probably wouldn't say, hey, give me more stuff. It's not like Cookie Monster where it just wants all of the things. It would say, please help me breathe. It wants everything to work together. It wants to help pause. It wants to have everything work together. So let's talk about some of those common soil amendments. And I want to talk about the categories because there's not every product. We're not going to do that today. I want to talk about the big ones so you have a general understanding of those different amendments, okay? Because there's a lot of different ones that you can choose. Organic matter. This is basically the foundation. These are things like compost, aged manure, leaf molds. These improve the inherent structure. They help with drainage and they feed those microbes. All of this works together to help nutrients stay accessible for the plants to be able to use them. If you were to focus on only one amendment type, this would be it. Adding these things back into your soil are some of the best things that you can do to make your garden grow better. But let's talk about minerals. You have some mineral amendments because these change the balance. Lime, for example, raises pH. Sulfur lowers the pH. Gypsum or sand helps clay structure, and that doesn't change the pH. These are all powerful minerals, and they all work together to help the chemistry work together. And powerful means you shouldn't guess. If you just add minerals blindly, you can actually cause some long-term problems. And that's why testing is important. And that's why testing really matters. You don't have to be crazy about it, but just get a general sense of where you are. If you have nutrient-based amendments, these are a little more targeted tools. So bone meal, for example, blood meal, fish meal, kelp, these natural amendments, they're useful when you know what's missing. They're not meant to really be added just because it sounds good, and it's not because someone online said so, but they are designed to support your soil once you know what you need it to be supported by. So biological amendments, this is one of my favorites because they support life. You've got worm castings and mycorrhizal fungi and microbial inoculants and all of these really neat things that are happening underneath the surface of the soil. These guys are supporting that underground powerhouse, and that's like a workforce happening underneath. Think of these as really important when you're establishing a new bed, or if you're really disturbing the soil, rototilling, and you're really starting a new section. But more is not better, and that's the part that no one likes to hear. They're like, well, if it's good, we should give it extra. You can actually over-amend your soil. So if you add too much nitrogen, you have these lush leaves, but very little blooms. If you add too much phosphorus, that creates a lockout problem where the plant can't take things up. And too much organic matter can literally cause drainage issues. So too much of one thing can create an issue, because healthy soil is truly all about balance. It's not about abundance. You want it to work together. It's a system. And this is why we built the soil course the way we did. This is not a shameless plug for our soil course, but an understanding of why we built it the way we did. It's not a shopping list, it's not a checklist, but it's a decision-making system so that it makes sense. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I understand the concept of the soil in my garden, but I don't know where to start, and I don't know what my soil needs, and I don't understand all of the terms, and I'm kind of not sure what to do. That's what this soil course is for. So inside it, we walk through very simple tests, how to read some of those results, and how to choose amendments with confidence. I think the most asked question that I get asked is about soils. There's so much confusion. This episode is the why. The course we created is the how. I want to make it simple, and I want to make it so that you can understand it. Because in our next episode, we're going to go even a little bit deeper. Because compost isn't just one amendment, it's structure. It's biology, it's nutrition, and it's all working together. I am super excited that we will have Ryan from Shore Soils come and talk about what compost actually is, how to tell good compost from bad compost, and how it works with the amendments instead of the amendments. Because if amendments are tools, compost really is a foundation. I hope this made sense. I definitely know that there's confusion, questions, and lots of things that people have questions about when it comes to soil amendments, because amendments aren't about fixing broken soil. They're about supporting soil that's trying to function. Your soil isn't failing you. You just have to understand how to read its language, because it could be asking for help. I also think that a lot of people get confused between soil structure and soil chemistry. So understanding your structure helps you understand your chemistry, and they're all working together for you to be able to have those pieces of the puzzle, basically, that will all come together so you can have the best soil and you can grow your garden from the ground up. So thank you for joining us today on this episode. I really appreciate you being here. I hope this made sense, and I can't wait to see you next week when we do a deep dive, although we're not swimming in it, when we do a deep dive into compost. So have a good day, guys.